Shalom, everyone, and welcome to JQT Hanukkah Hotties. My name is Carmel Tanaka, and I'm the Executive Director of JQT Vancouver, a Jewish, queer, and trans nonprofit dedicated to queering Jewish space and Jew-ifying queer space in Vancouver, BC, on the ancestral and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. If you do not know the land on which you live, work, and play, check out native-land.ca. For Hanukkah this year, we are being generously supported by Creating Accessible Neighborhoods, an organization that advocates for and educates about disabled people with intersecting identities. You can learn more about this fantastic organization doing amazing work at canbc.org. For each candle of the holiday, we have a Hanukkah Hottie joining us to light their hanukkiah, or perhaps share another tradition and chit-chat about the wonderful things they do in life for the duration of the candles burning. For our Shamash candle of Hanukkah Hotties, we are joined by Tikva Wolf. Tikva is an author, an illustrator, focusing on topics of communication, effectiveness, and relationship dynamics. Wolf's work is used as an aid by therapists and educators and is part of the Kinsey Institute's archive collection, as well as the Ivy Plus Library's global webcomics archive. Tuning in from the backseat of a car in Asheville, North Carolina, let's welcome Tikva Wolf.
Hello.
Hi.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Thanks for calling me in the morning where you are. It's noon where I am.
Well, you know, anything for you. We're such a fan of your work, and I will wake up in the middle of the night if that meant, if that's what we had to do. But I also love that you're totally cool being in the backseat of your car, and you're going to be chit-chatting with us for a bit.
It's true. It was the easiest way to call in. I'm in between my jujitsu classes, and I saved this moment to make this joke that I'm wearing this shirt. We've been like doing the preliminary like chit chat before going live, and I was like trying really hard not to show you my shirt.
You wanted a genuine reaction from me? Well, you got it. I think that's epic. And for those tuning in, I'm having some more technical difficulties, and so I can't actually see Tikva right here on this screen. I can only see them here. So if you're wondering why I'm not looking, this is the results of, we're a volunteer organization. We need some dollars over here for some better equipment. But how about we light your Shamash, our Shamash.
In the backseat of a car. I was going to bring a candle, but instead all I have is my jujitsu mouth guard. So
yes,
here we go.
We shall bless your mouth guard. And I hear you have a competition coming up, so may it also bring you good luck.
Thank you. My first jujitsu competition is this upcoming Saturday, which is the best thing I could think of to do on Shabbat. No, it's not, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited. I just started doing jujitsu like 5 months ago, I think. Something like that.
So is it a pandemic hobby?
I don't know what it is. My new life path. All right.
I did Krav Maga for a bit. I've always wanted to get into judo, also jujitsu. You know, my background's Japanese, and so I never quite got into the martial arts thing. Got into the crafts and whatnot. But I think I would rock at karate, or definitely at karaoke, but that's a different type of martial arts. That's martial arts with the vocal cords. Shall we light the Shamash candle?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm not sure how to light anything with a mouth guard. I could put it in.
Yes, smile.
It's awkward.
May that bring you a lot of joy in your competition, and yeah, that's exciting.
Thank you.
Exciting to learn new skills, and I don't know, try new stuff. We're living in some interesting times, and it's really nice to see people motivated, getting out there, doing stuff, because, you know, some of the chunk of this time has been spent indoors doing absolutely Nothing.
Yeah, I used to go dancing a lot, but I don't
You're
like
a dancer too?
I'm a dancer.
Cameron did not tell me that.
I like things like ecstatic dance or contact improv, like things that there wasn't a correct way to do it, and where I didn't necessarily like with ecstatic dance, I would just like close my eyes and dance insanely in the middle of the room and like not ever touch anybody else because I don't like partner dancing unless I really like jujitsu though, so apparently I needed it to be more violent.
I needed
there to be a winner. Like a clear winner and a clear loser for me to get into it.
That's great. I love social partner dancing, and it's something that I've missed quite a lot, and I haven't returned to since the start of the panini. But there was one tiny little dance I had. It was a socially distanced bachata, or it was a salsa at the side of a pool. We were swimming on the roof of this beautiful hotel in downtown Vancouver, and everyone was outside. But it was super slippy, so we had to be very careful because I didn't want to slip and fall. So, you know, that was all I got during the pandemic. But I'm very much looking forward to going back to swing. I love dancing, and that's I know I'm gonna have a sigh of relief when I can finally get back to doing that, and hopefully soon. Yeah.
Wow, let me drop my phone here.
I love this. I love all this already. All I'm imagining right now is you need tacos, you know.
I wish I had tacos. I'm really mad that I don't have tacos right now. All I have is really old jerky, and I'm not that desperate yet.
Not yet. Well,
although that would give me an extra defense. I'm about to go like fight people after this, and then I'll having like turkey, like or jerky breath.
Well, now you have the protection of light. So
right.
For those who don't know what a Shamash candle is, Tikva, why don't you share what the Shamash candle represents to you or means to you?
Well, the Shamash is the candle that is used to light all the other candles on the hanukkiah at Hanukkah. And so I sort of think about, or I interpret it sort of metaphorically as the whatever it is in our lives that reminds us of our own light.
That's so beautiful. That truly is. I like to say it's the one candle to rule them all. And
yes.
It's an amazing candle, and we're very happy for you to be our Shamash candle. We see that you're lighting up not only the comic world, but just everything. You're touching on so many amazing topics ranging from polyamory to ADHD and neurodivergence. And it's just, for us, it's amazing to see this being represented and, you know, seeing our realities in the most cute possible way. You know, you're talking about some heavy stuff. I mean, you're digging in there. So for those who don't know and are yet to begin following, you better do that now. Kimchi Cuddles is the amazing series that Tikva has created out of their imagination. So how about you tell us a little bit more about how it all got started?
Well, I've always written comics as a way of sort of processing my emotions. And I was in a polyamorous relationship, and I was making comics about it and just showing it to the people in that little group. And one of them was like, "Oh, these are funny. You should put them online and have a webcomic about polyamory and queer stuff." And I was like, "No, nobody would read it." And I was trying to do other things to make money at the time. But then just sort of as a joke, which is why it's called Kimchi Cuddles, because I gave it zero thought. I was just making a lot of kimchi at the time. And so my cuddles were kimchi flavored.
I mean, it really worked for me because I was like, oh my God, is this Korean and Asian?
Unfortunately, I have no Korean ancestry at all. I just really love kimchi, and I'm constantly making kimchi at home. So, but yeah, zero.
It's good for our Jewish gut, so all good.
I love everything that's pickled and fermented. But anyway, so I slapped it onto the internet, and then all of a sudden I was famous, and it was weird.
Like overnight? Was it overnight?
I don't know. It seems like it was. And
well, when did it
I
start?
have no concept of time, but it was like 7 years ago, maybe.
Oh, so you've been doing this for a
Something like that.
while.
Yeah. And then I wrote some books, and that's my story. Yeah, so I mostly draw comics. And I have a couple of books out that are graphic novels.
Are those the two that you just so happen to have in the backseat of
Oh yeah,
your car?
I just so happened to have two of them in the backseat of my car, not because I was prepared, because I had two copies here to bring to somebody later. So this one I wrote about my life as it was in 2000. When was this published? I'm sorry. This was published in 2016. So this is what my life was about back then. And yeah, it's sort of a story about parenting and love. And here's the sexy page. There's a sexy page in there.
Ooh la 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 la
I
la.
feel like hold this camera better here. Let me hold it with my feet. Okay, here we go. Now it's story time, kids. I can show the pictures. This is not working.
Oh no, it's over. It's great. It's wonderful.
I had a lot of fun writing this book and drawing it, and it's sort of like a little chunk of my life. I was very depressed.
I think we have a unfortunate freeze on our end, or perhaps on Tikva's end. While we wait for Tikva to join us, we can do, I don't know, let's think about what we can do. How about ask some questions to Tikva when they return about their series, Kimchi, Cuddles. I can tell a little bit of a story of how I actually got to know Tikva, who hopefully shall be returning shortly. So we have a mutual friend in common, Camber, who said, you must get in touch with Tikva. And without a doubt, they already knew that we would get along very, very well. And it's actual proof that we get along very well, because this dynamic is awesome. And I can't wait to actually physically be in the same space as you one day and dance with you. Yes, this is gonna happen.
All right, so my connection dropped for a second.
Oh, totally fine. I just ad-libbed for a hot second until you returned.
So where was I? I was talking about when I was writing this book. It's a book about relationship transitions, and I was sure at the time that these relationships that I was writing about were transitioning much further away from my life than they ended up being. And so it's kind of really nice for me to look back at this sort of like romantic depiction that I had at the time when I was really sad, and looking at how, all the beautiful ways I'm still connected to all the people I was writing about in the book, and how very different the connection is now, and that it's much better than I could have ever imagined that it would have been, because it's not anything like what I wanted at the time.
I mean, like 7 years ago, you were also younger. Yeah. Like we all were. And
now I'm old and I've learned nothing. Just kidding. I also have this other book that I wrote about my comic drawing process, which is called It's Okay Feelings, I Got You, which is based on a workshop that I used to go around and like do workshops at conventions and stuff before the pandemic. And one thing that the pandemic helped me with is letting go of the feeling of obligation of traveling, because I hate traveling, and I hope I never get on a plane ever again. I don't even like going like 10 minutes away from the house. Like I just like, it would be ideal if I could just like live somewhere where I could walk everywhere. And anyway, we'll see what happens. But I used to give these workshops about comic drawing as a sort of getting in touch with your inner experience. and working through it. And it's based on just sort of what I do when I write my comic. And it was also inspired by, there's a 12-step practice for adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families, where you write to your inner child using your non-dominant hands. The opposite of that. You ask your inner child a question using your voice or your dominant hands, and you let your inner child answer you using your non-dominant hand to write the response. And I just thought that was such a cool practice. And I don't know if it has an origin besides for that 12-step program, but that's where I encountered it. And so I put it into my own comic drawing practice, where I would ask myself a question and then let the answer come through the comic drawing process, partially using my non-dominant hands, or it's sort of turned into a movement-based practice sometimes too, of just sort of like when I used to dance a lot, like incorporating that into the motions. But anyway, so a lot of that sort of stuff is in this book.
Can you show us some of the pages? Oh, I think we lost Tikva again. So as we wait for Tikva to return to the call, back to how we met with Camber, there's actually a really funny story. So Camber is now with a lovely person named Marco, who I met on a dance floor. Speaking of dancing, it was a fusion dance social. I think it was maybe a Friday night, can't remember, in Vancouver. And I could definitely tell that this person has amazing skill and clearly is a trained dancer. And we had an amazing connection on the dance floor. And I invited them over at some point to have dinner with a couple ballet dancers, because I realized that they were trained in ballet. I am definitely just a social recreational dancer, clearly not as skilled. And then lo and behold, social media tells all, and I see that the two of them have connected, and it was two different worlds colliding into one with their partnership. So shout out to Marco and Camber. And we now have Tikva back with us.
I'm back. I'm sorry I keep losing my connection here.
That's okay. It's keeping me on my toes.
I like that each time you keep going back into talking about Camber.
This is the reason why we know of one another. I mean, so to be perfectly honest, Camber did introduce me to your work, Kimchi, Cuddles. Probably it was early pandemic days, so probably almost 2 years ago, if not more than 2 years ago. And I obviously liked the page, and I've been following for a very, very long time. And I'm like, yes. And, there was a time where I also dipped my toes into the world of polyamory. And some of the stuff that came up was like, oh, yes. And, I feel like you're really speaking to people who are also living in these worlds and experimenting and also living these lifestyles. And I see in the comments that you've got diehard fans, which is wonderful.
Diehard fans.
Truly. I mean, they're feeling seen and represented, and it's really important because there's a lot of stigma surrounding polyamory, and in general, just anything that isn't the heteronormative monogamous world. So I was wondering, for those who are tuning in, like, how would you describe polyamory?
Well, it's interesting asking. I would have a very different answer 7 years ago. My first book that I published that I don't have here in the backseat of my car is a book that's sort of a compilation of the best of my Kimchi Cuddles comics, which is only the first 4 years of the comic or something. So I would also have different comics in there now. But and it's called Ask Me About Polyamory. And it's like me in the front, like holding a little flag, like a little rainbow flag, and I'm like super excited about polyamory. Like, have you heard the good news? And now the way I sort of don't think of polyamory and monogamy as being that different anymore. Like I used to, when I first came across the idea, I was like, oh, I'm allowed to do that, and I got super excited. And And now it just sort of feels like a natural, like, of course, people have multiple connections with multiple people, even if they're monogamous, usually. And it's just not based on, those connections aren't based on sexual exclusivity or sexual openness, I should say. And a lot of polyamorous relationships, sorry, I'm like answering the question by not answering. Let me go, let me rewind. Polyamory. A lot of people would define polyamory as being a relationship type where you are having either sexual or romantic or both, like multiple connections simultaneously. But, you know, relationships don't inherently involve sex or romance, and so to be meaningful. And so a lot of people define their relationship.
Oh no, we dropped Tikva just as they were defining polyamory, but it's true. From my experience, you know, I have a lot of friends who are polyamorous. You know, on the dating apps, you see people are saying if they're monogamous or open to non-monogamy, or if they identify as also polyamorous. And something that I find really interesting and unique is what everyone thinks of as polyamory really differs from person to person. There's quite a spectrum of what that means and how it's practiced. And also there's a difference at times. What you might agree to at the beginning when you're starting a relationship that might be polyamorous versus, here we go, we're trying to get Tikva back in here, versus what is actually practiced. And I think that's an important note to remember, is clear communication is super, super important to make sure that we're all on the same page. And oh, Tikva is back. And I was just explaining that there's a huge range of how people define polyamory, what you may agree to at the beginning when you're engaging versus what is actually practiced, and that the importance is clear communication and being really respectful, and communication is just like the thing.
Yeah, as it should be with monogamy as well.
For sure, 100%. But if you can't do it with monogamy, then you can't do it with polyamory. I mean, like, communication is so important. And
right, because there is culturally an assumption often that exclusivity is the thing that you're about to do if you get romantic. So right, it is. I mean, I think that there should be clear communication about that also. But yeah, there's often an assumption that that's what's going to happen.
So do you have I mean, this is a really hard question to ask artists especially, but are there like a couple favorite comics that you created? You're like, this is the one. This is my best work. Or do you feel like it's coming?
I actually was thinking about this recently because I was creeping up on my my 1000th comic that I just made like the other day. And I'm on like, thanks. I'm on number like 1003 now or something. But I had it in my head that something significant was going to happen when I hit number 1000. And nothing happened. But leading up to it, I was like thinking about all of the comics that I've made and all the things that have happened the past 7 years or however long it's been. And and there's just this like really like trait one about how I always forget to shake the mustard and it makes leaky stuff come out.
Water juice.
That's not my best work, but but ever since I made that, and this was years ago that I drew that just sort of throwaway comic, and it was something like I was 30. I remember I was 36, and now I'm almost 40. I'm about to be 40 in January.
Yeah, party time.
But yeah, so 4 years ago, I drew a comic about how I was like 36 years and I still haven't learned to shake the mustard. But ever since I drew that comic, I've remembered to shake the mustard. And so That isn't really an answer to your question, but
no, but that shows you the power of your art.
right.
And
you breathe things into existence by drawing about
them. So manifest what you want.
I'm not going to talk about manifesting shit because I'm in Asheville.
But, so good. That's really exciting. Well, how about we shift some gears, and as a queer Jewish artist, I was just wondering, has anything Jewish seeped into your work, or how does Jewishness come into play? Is there a particular comic that has any Jewish content, for instance, or maybe addressing, I know this is multiple questions, but like addressing being in mixed relationships, where not everyone is Jewish. So yeah, I'm just curious, how does that play into your world?
Well, I think of comics in general as being very Jewish and queer anyway, but I and I don't really write a lot about being Jewish. I'm open about being Jewish, but it doesn't come up directly in the content that I write about in general, except that I think of my comic as a whole as being part of my Jewishness in my practice of Tikkun Olam, because I sort of like, and I think of my role model for Tikkun Olam, for everyone tuning in who doesn't know what Tikkun Olam is, it means something about repairing the world. And so I think of that sort of metaphorically as just sort of like I was saying about the Shamash, like trying to be the one to remind the others of their own light, and letting whoever else is reminding me, like, take that feedback, and sort of just living life that way, or trying to. And my biggest role model is Mr. Rogers. And who's not Jewish, but I feel like he's a really good example of,
honorary
living
Jew.
life as Tikkun Olam. And yeah, so I think of my comic, I try, like, some of them are snarky and some of them are just whatever, but I try in my writing to just sort of lift people up and help them see their own selves better.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers, what I absolutely loved about his work, and if you haven't seen the movie yet, or any documentaries on
I haven't
Mr. Rogers,
seen it.
Okay, well, it's still the same. This won't be any spoilers for you, but the act of sharing a little kiddie pool and putting feet in, and having people of various different colors around there sharing the same pool was really his way to combat a lot of issues of the segregation between Black and white people. And as a kid of, a person of color growing up, watching Mr. Rogers and seeing that there was all different types of people on screen there, for me, that was really important because it was not represented nearly anywhere else. And I think we might have dropped Tikva again. Dun, dun, dun. I can start dancing. I mean, la, 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 la. Perfect timing, and you're back because I was just starting a strip tease here. Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, we have we have a question here from the audience. Do you have any Jewish graphic novel artist faves?
Jewish graphic novel faves. I can't think of any that are I don't have a list in my head of like, here's my favorite whatevers. But I'm writing a graphic novel right now that's been taking me forever. I've been writing this book for 5 years, and I got really inspired like 4 months ago. All of a sudden I got like a big crush on somebody and it didn't work out, which I think is for the best. However, it like gave me a lot of energy, and I was like, well, where am I going to put this? I'll put it into my book. And that I was already writing, and I just like gave me a lot of oomph. And like, so I've been, there's like a bunch of crows right outside my car right now, and it like they're creeping up.
Don't look at them. They totally remember you. Avoid. There's actually an app in Vancouver. It's a map where you can see where all the crow sightings are, because they tend to swoop and attack right? So just don't engage.
I know jujitsu, it's fine. I can take a few crows. But but anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, I'm writing a book. Your
graphic novel, is it in the same art form and style as Kimchi Cuddles, or is it different?
It's very similar. So it's not on the same. There, this one, Love Retold, is sort of a slightly different style, in just that like it. But I'm not really writing it or drawing it in the same style as this either. It's sort of a new thing, I guess. It's sort of a conglomeration of things. It's fun. It's very fun.
Your art is evolving.
Yeah, it's also my first sci-fi thing that I've ever written, which is super exciting. It incorporates a lot of my Jewish story in my family, because it's a story about epigenetic trauma and like family stuff, dreams, and there's some sci-fi elements there of how that all ties together. And then it's very trippy. The artistry is in it, which is fun. But yeah, it's a lot more dreamlike than anything else I've made before. It's been fun to write.
That sounds great. Well, we look forward to definitely checking that out. Do you think it will be coming out next year? What's the
I don't know. I want
another 5 years from now
until it's done. I'm like specifically not trying to make any deals with publishers or anything, because I don't want to have a deadline for it, and I want it to be done when it's like actually good. So I'm just taking my time.
So there was something else, that a topic that you really touch on, and I absolutely love you for it. It's for your awareness and focusing on ADHD. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what inspired you to start writing and comicking about ADHD. Oh, and frozen again. Well, as we wait for Tikva to return, our sponsoring organization, Creating Accessible Neighborhoods, as you all know, is our partner organization in sponsoring this series. And there really is a great intersection between queer community and being neurodivergent, and especially in the Jewish community, this is very prevalent. And so I was just asking people, Tikva was trying to ask you actually. So I will re-ask the question. There's a lot of intersection between being queer and being neurodivergent, and it also is in the Jewish community. And so one of the things that you focus on in your comics is the topic of ADHD. And I was wondering if you'd like to share what inspired you to talk about this and draw about this.
Well, I'm very ADHD, and different people with that having that experience deal with it in different ways. And I'm not against taking medication, but it doesn't work for me. So I had to sort of like figure out, there's an analogy somewhere that I saw, probably in like meme form, where it was like everybody else has a bag to hold their marbles, and people with ADHD are just constantly like juggling all of them. And you can get like the medication like helps give you a bag, sort of was the analogy, I think. But when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I've sort of like have developed an identity of like pride at how good I am at juggling all of the marbles constantly. Like really hard.
Not familiar at all.
And so I have a resistance, like part of my resistance to taking medication is I don't want to find out how easy life could be.
Right.
And that's my own problem.
That's so real though.
And yeah, and so I that's a little sad maybe, but that's my experience. And so I just sort of embrace it. And I'm lucky enough that things have worked out for me in a lot of ways that make it so I can live the way that I do. With this brain.
I'm also ADHD. I'm self-diagnosed. I didn't feel it was necessary for me to go through the whole process of getting a diagnosis medically, because for what? Am I going to go on to meds all of a sudden? I'm also, like you, someone who's juggling a lot and also pride myself on juggling a lot. I have a lot of projects going, and everyone says, whenever I say I have an idea, they're like, oh no, another group, another community, another project, don't sit down, not sustainable. But for me, I like to keep busy, and definitely on the spectrum there. And it was actually comics that got me to realize that I might be ADHD, and I found out way late in life, like during the pandemic. So in my mid 30s, and I just looked it up. It's ADHDdd.com, ADHD Comics by Danny Donovan. So I don't know if people can see it, but you should definitely check that out. Oops, got lots of notifications. There we go. So anyway, check that out. For me, I saw those comics and it just was clear as day. I read them. I'm like, oh, wow, this explains so much. I always thought I had a learning disability, or I was deficient, or there was something wrong with me. And really, it's validating to not only read your comics, but to also, know other Jews and friends who are queer and neurodivergent, to really see how they're dealing with it. And believe it or not, coffee for me slows me down and allows me to concentrate. So I like take a shot of coffee just before doing this interview, so I'm not like all over the place, so I can really focus on you. So I mean, it's fascinating, and I'm just really excited that you do this and you're reducing the stigma in many ways, because as people who get diagnosed later on in life, there's a lot of stigma that, like, you're not that little boy who can't pay attention in class, which is really frustrating in many ways. I think we have another frozen screen. But yeah, it's an interesting conversation about ADHD in particular, because there's so much, like, how would you say, like, one idea of what ADHD is, and in fact it's really diverse among the population, and not everyone necessarily needs to be medicated, as Tikva was just saying. Yeah, but learning the tools in order to move forward. So I see we've got Tikva back, and yeah.
Sorry, I keep moving.
No, that's okay. I mean, clearly the Jiu-Jitsu is calling you. And it's been such a pleasure to have you on here and to join us as our Hanukkah Shamash. Before we conclude, is there anything that you would like to add?
Well, it was wonderful meeting you. I'm glad that Camber connected.
Yeah.
I just like to add that Camber is wonderful.
Yes, I fully 100% agree. So good. Yeah, how about one last thing is, where can we get your books? Where are they available?
Right, so you can go to tikvawolf.com for all of the things. Kimchi Cuddles is also on Facebook and Tumblr, if anyone's on Tumblr, and Instagram. And on Instagram, though, it's called Tikva Wolf Comics. And I have a Patreon that I often put up like free downloads, and just a bunch of stuff is on the Patreon that I put up free resources. And there's on tikvawolf.com, there's a page that you can, I think it's the games page, that you can find a lot of like free downloads and stuff that are all like through the Patreon, but free. So people can go on there and throw me $1 if they want to, or they can just get the free things.
Wonderful. Well, that's very generous of you. I'm sure a lot of people will be running to check out all the things. Well, many thanks to Tikva Wolf for joining JQT today as our Hanukkah Hottie Shamash. You can follow them on all the socials. Links are in the chat. Thank you to our sponsor organization, Creating Accessible Neighborhoods. You can also follow us, JQT, on social media. And thank you for tuning in. Let's keep building this community, showing up authentically, celebrating our true selves, and being proud of our Jewish and queer, and then some, identities. Happy Hanukkah. Chag Hanukkah Sameach.
Happy Hanukkah.
And good luck on your competition next weekend.
Thank you.
Make us proud.
I'll learn something.
Wonderful. Bye.